Okey-doke, 8 o'clock. Number one, we thank you all for coming, taking the time out of your home life and joining us, joining the rest of us here in the MCOM direct messaging team meeting. We try to have these about once every 3 months or so, but last year was a very different year. Lots of activity, lots of new members, lots of rearranging of what we were doing, lots of managing behind the scenes. We weren't able to do it. So we decided to wait until we get everything in place with the basic restructuring that we've done. And so here we are, and you'll be hearing about some of that restructuring going forward. And so the goal in 2023 was to get each person, one of the reasons for the delays, just get everybody on the various target teams to get at least one time being a target station, learning how that works, what makes it different from being a field station. And with the growth and coordination we had, we were busy keeping up with stuff, people coming in, people leaving, and it got a little hairy there for a while. But the excellent work done by some of the members you'll be hearing from tonight made sure that we never lost track of anybody. We're going to be doing this about once every 3 months. It may be longer if there's no need. We're not going to do it just to have one, but make sure there's something of substance to speak about. But for what I think is going to be happening over the next year, I don't think that's going to be a problem. So with that, pretty much everybody's here who's going to arrive, at least being more or less on time, if not the early ones. Thank you for those who showed up early with that level of commitment. We're going to start off with Lynn. Lynn is the gentleman who started EDM. He started it by keeping a P2P function going on with the WinLink Thursday group, ETO, MCOM training organization. And then when it matured enough, he saw fit to start doing something different. So he's going to be leading us off, speaking to it, and he gets to relay the event that we just mentioned before we went live. So Lynn, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Rory. Welcome to all the EDM members tonight. I see a lot of familiar faces. Just a little background. I actually started a WinLink peer-to-peer group 4 years ago in 2020. And we met on Slack, and then we organized things, kind of a DIY sort of thing where guys would set up their own tests on peer-to-peer operations. And we were using WinLink, and it was working pretty well. It caught the eye of the Red Cross group, and in 2021, I was invited to join the Red Cross WinLink group and help them set up an ETO operation shortly thereafter. And many of you are aware of this. The Red Cross decided they didn't want us using their name, so we changed it to ETO, MCOM Training Organization. And that worked great till about a year ago. So EDM was born in January of last year, and incidentally, this is our first anniversary. So, yay, light a candle on your cupcake. So we decided to separate the peer-to-peer operation from ETO, and EDM was born. So the plan was a little different. Rather than teaching usage of WinLink forms and templates, EDM concentrates on the technical aspects of providing a means to communicate when the normal infrastructure is compromised. And I recognize that this could be a great opportunity to provide a better training experience for those who are really interested in doing peer-to-peer. First step was to form a steering committee, which is kind of like a board of directors. And together we began to recruit target stations. For starters, we had the original ETO peer-to-peer team, and some of those went back to the group we had before ETO, and we drew upon them and just kept going and growing. We currently have 6 teams, but we will be reducing that to 4 teams to provide a better opportunity for all to participate. We're going to do that by expanding the frequency coverage of each team. Each team will now be about 40 stations rather than the current 30. New target station lists will be posted later tonight, right after the meeting. Brad is going to post those, and they'll be on the Groups.io site under files in the file section. So that's something that you're going to want to take a look at. So please check your listing in those files, because you will be probably on a different team. You might be on a different frequency. You might be on a different band. Just let us know by Friday night, if you can, if there needs to be a change, so that we can incorporate that into the new map, which we'll be putting out probably on Sunday. You see the old map here behind me. As you can see, we're lacking some coverage in the northern plains, FEMA region 8, for example, and some down around the Texas area, and generally in the western half of the United States, it's a little more sparse than we'd like it to be. So at any rate, feel free to recruit people that you know that are in those areas, so that we can fill things in. So here's what we're going to do. We're increasing the number of designated channels on both 80 meters and 40 meters from 5 stations to 10, allowing us to have one of each in each FEMA region. On 30, 20, and 15 meters, we will continue to have 5 channels each, and these will be assigned to alternate FEMA geographical regions as much as possible. So for example, the Alpha team will have FEMA regions 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 on the other, that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to try to do, and where possible, we'll put them right in those regions. As we expand the frequencies, we're also adjusting them to more efficiently use the available spectrum. And since we operate strictly at 500 hertz bandwidth, we face fewer FCC restrictions than WinLink RMS stations, and we're not limited as to where we can go by Part 97.221, I think it is.
Yes.
So the WinLink organization has approached us to ask for our cooperation in leaving their frequencies as clear as possible. And we use WinLink. We need to get along with the WinLink people, and it's to everybody's advantage if we have a harmonious relationship. So we met with them and decided that that's what we're going to do. The mechanics of this transition have been worked out by Andy and Brad, and they may be in contact with you to revisit your band preferences if necessary. In other new developments for 2024, David has created a wonderful series of desktop training modules, and he'll talk about those in a few minutes. Gary is serving as kind of like a secretary to our committee, keeping track of what we plan and reminding us of it every week, kind of keeping us on the straight and narrow. And Rory, as you know, has become the face and voice of EDM, and we'll be producing some new training videos as well. As for me, I had planned to retire a year ago. Somehow building a new group was more fun, but now that we have a great leadership team, I'll be available to offer some special assistance or advice as needed, and we'll continue to run the mapping operation for now. Meanwhile, I want to personally thank each of you for your active participation in the EDM group. Please keep in mind that going forward, we are going to expect active participation for those who wish to continue on the EDM team, and that applies to both the weekly modules and the training exercises. And just like in an emergency, we expect you to be there. So that's all I have at this point. Rory, back to you.
Excellent, thank you. And I just want you guys to know, and gals, that little map behind Lynn is something that he uses to help us figure out what's going on. In his winding down period, he didn't wind down. Somehow he still found, like an old watch, to just keep on winding it up. He put a lot of time and effort into that. And for those who've gone to and using that map, it becomes a lot easier to figure out certain parameters in the operation. And for those of us inside the steering committee, to understand where patterns are for our regions and bands. So thank you for that, Lynn. Next two up, because they operate as a team, is Andy and Brad. Brad is up in Canada. He's part of our international coalition and Andy is one of my southern friends down in South Carolina, and they have been working tirelessly, and they have put in untold hours. They do not tell us how many hours they put in. We just know a lot of hours that have been keeping the target station teams going as it have. When you go from 2 to 6 target station teams, people coming in and out, and then when we wanted them to please bring the team list down to 4, but expanding to 40 and 80 meters, that was a whole lot of time, and some of it was done right in the middle of the holiday season. So applause to you guys for doing that. Andy, Brad, please take it away.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you all for coming tonight. For those of you who don't know, when you join, I'm probably the first one that you have a communication with. I take your application for EDM. I send you the introductory letter. You return your information to me. I review it, approve it, and I put you on a master list. And then I notify Brad, and then Brad finds a slot for you on the team list. And that whole thing sometimes takes a few days, but that's the main thing that we do on a day-to-day basis. When we started to rearrange and expand the list for 80 and 40 meters, we realized that we now had more slots on 6 teams than we had people to fill. So we wound up doing a downsize to 4 lists, which did involve moving a lot of people around. Take note, I'm sure there's somebody out there that did not get their preferred frequency and or band. Sorry about that, but fellas, when you're dealing with this many people, it was hard to accommodate absolutely everybody. If we stuck you somewhere that you just cannot physically operate on, let us know. We'll try to move you somewhere else. The big problem is, fellas, everybody wants to be on 20 and 40 meters. I get it. But we got other bands to cover. So keep in mind that this is to be used for when you're a target station receiving information. So it's not so much about who you can communicate with. It's more about who can reach you. And as always, when you're operating as a field station, you can operate on whatever band you choose. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Brad, if you have anything you'd like to share and talk about. But that's basically all I can tell you as far as what we did recently. Brad, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Thank you, Rory. Well, as Rory mentioned earlier, my name is Brad Harris, VE3MXJ. I'm in Thunder Bay, Ontario. And yeah, as Andy indicated, we did some restructuring. And basically, when he said he takes your name and he puts it on a spreadsheet, and I see that name, now it's time to place you somewhere. So Lynn had made mention to FEMA regions. That's kind of the main criteria, is to look at what FEMA region you're in. And when the new teams come out after this meeting, if you find your name and you look at the FEMA region, and for example, if you're living or you're physically living in region 4, FEMA 4, let's say North Carolina, I couldn't find a spot for you. So we moved you to region 3, region 3. So, I mean, the whole idea is to be able to reach people. You're in the general area. We didn't take somebody from Georgia and put them in Oregon. That wouldn't have made sense. So point is, if you look at the list later on tonight after the meeting and you see, wait a minute, I don't live in region 6. Not a big deal. Don't panic. As both Lynn and Rory and Andy have said, there'll be 4 teams. So at the end of this meeting, I will be posting those on the EDM target stations, groups IO. Go down to files, open up the target stations folder. When you get to that, you'll see target station teams. And when you open that up, you'll see 4 files. And that'll be Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta teams. And then from there, you can open that up. I suggest you print it off so you always have it nearby. And as well, yeah, if you see an issue, as Andy said, we have you on 80 meters and all you're equipped for is everything but 80, then yeah, of course, let us know. A lot of people have put down band preference 40, 30, 20, 15. Say 40 being their first preference. Well, we kind of played with that a bit, and if we needed you on 15, we'd put you on 15 instead of 40. So my main role is the logistics part here, and of course, as you can imagine, as people quit, we take from a list of people that are waiting to get in and kind of maneuver and put them in, and it's all a team effort by all of us on the committee. Everybody does a great job, and everybody does a lot of work behind the scenes. So I don't think I've missed anything. As I say, take a look at the Groups IO EDM target stations and look for the new Alpha through Delta teams, and they'll be posted right after this meeting. And unless I forgot something, Andy or somebody, I guess that's it for me. So back to you, Roy. Thank you.
Excellent, Brad and Andy. Thank you. One thing to add on is survey responses. We do send out surveys. We haven't really talked about the details of what we're going to be modifying, if anything, for the rest of the year, but we do send out surveys. We do look for the responses, and I promise you, we read them. Some of us will pick up on certain points from certain members, but collectively, when we get together, it all gets thrown into the hat. We do take a look at each one and see what it can be done to modify, change, or remove certain aspects of what we do. So I've mentioned it before in some of the training videos, there's a feed forward mechanism, something like this, where we're speaking to you, we send out notices, we critically desire the feedback mechanism from you, and we give you that opportunity with survey responses. So please keep that going. David is the next person that will be speaking to you. He has become the most active member in how it's impacting all of you. He came up with this fabulous idea of mini teachings. There are so many new members that we've gained in pretty much 3/4 of 2023, and we weren't able to keep up with all the training, with all the people coming on board. Certain things went out, but Dave's plan with what he's doing now is making sure that every little bit of what we are about is being covered. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but with the feedback we've already gotten, we've already been making some changes, and I'll let Dave explain everything else about this great plan.
Okay, thanks a lot, Rory. As you mentioned, I'm ND1J, and I'm down in Sonoya, Georgia. And Lynn mentioned that I'm the one that specializes in training and exercise development. We saw that there was a clear need this last few months to have a written training program for new members. So we started working on the development of that plan. And after we got not too far along, the committee made the decision to extend the training to all members, not just new ones, and also to make it mandatory. Training modules started out, as you know, in early January. We've been releasing one a week, and the next one will be out this coming Monday. We probably will have about 20 of them, maybe a few more than that. At this point, it's going well. We've gotten some good comments from everybody. The big thing about these training modules is that you can take little bits and chunks at a time. They're a great source of material for future reference, but also really important here, I think, they're going to allow the exercises, the actual exercises, to be, the instructions for the exercise to be shorter and more concise. We won't have to include all of the stuff that we've had to include in the previous exercises because people didn't know it. From this point on, in new exercises, that's not going to be there, and everybody can reference the source material from these modules. Tonight, I'm happy to announce that we're also introducing a new tabletop exercise to EDM. Starting this at the end of this month, we're going to introduce the first of the EDM tabletop exercises. And what those will do is they will cover the subject matter of the training modules since the last exercise. So EDM 2024-01 will come out and it will cover modules 1 through 4. testing with us has indicated that it's going to take maybe 45 to 60 minutes to complete. There'll be no actual transmitting. This exercise that's coming out first has 7 standalone tasks for you to complete. There's a 7-day window to complete it. So it's going to be work at your own pace and go from there. Excuse me. The post-exercise survey that will be included when the exercise, that's going to serve as the certificate of completion, certifying that you have done it. And we plan to have these tabletop exercises every few weeks, and they'll cover the modules that were lead up to them. And I'm going to try to work some limited RF work into some of them as I can. Now to the probably the most important thing in everybody's mind, real on-the-air exercises. We haven't forgotten that all of you want to see more of those. We all do. Just keep in mind that our recent emphasis on training with the modules and tabletops has delayed that. It takes an amazing, unbelievable amount of work to get to build an exercise, even a basic exercise from scratch. So we're going to try to recycle one of the other exercises in February. We hope to, and see how that goes. In summary, the committee has a solid written training program in place for you. We hope you enjoy it. And if you can think of any subject that you would like to have covered in a module, please let us know. And if it's not already drafted, we'll start working on one. Thanks, and back to you, Rory.
Excellent, David. Thank you. 2 things. One, to clarify, for those who might be thinking what I was thinking when you first mentioned tabletop. Tabletop usually involves everybody together at one table and you're going through a scenario. Is this tabletop going to be something like a Zoom session, everybody together, or each person individual?
Yeah, this exercise will be you sitting at a table. It'll be a tabletop exercise with you and you only. You'll be doing the exercise step by step, just completing the components of it, and again at your own pace.
And that's why it's only 45 minutes, folks. We all get together. It'll be a mealtime. Excellent. Thank you. So my part comes, which is going to be talking about accountability. David already mentioned it, that these are very important, and we are already tracking everybody's responses. The response being, yes, I've completed it. And when you put in a comment, that gets passed over to the steering committee, and pretty much it's always been David then who puts out the thanks and whatever needs to be said about the comment. But each person's participation of the training modules is being tracked. We're going to be doing that for participation also when we have RF exercises. The reason being, this is a serious organization. This is nothing that is a fun little club. We can have fun doing it, absolutely, but it's not. It's about a serious matter, and it's a very unique niche little scenario that we train for, that a lot of people out in the MCOM community are not really seeing the value, or at least not yet. But those of you participating, obviously, because you are aware, it's a special little niche, requires special training, and we don't want to waste anybody's time. We respect each and every person who comes on board as a Target Station team member. So we will be tracking everything and developing accountability to encourage everybody to either be involved, knowing sometimes life changes and you just can't anymore. And of course, that's not a problem whatsoever. But we will start needing to have that word accountability with some action behind it. That's a future topic that we are still developing. It's not something we're going to start throwing around immediately, but we are tracking all of this information. And as a little side note, which I should have started off with, coming off of David's presentation, is there are 4 learning styles for those of you who are aware of learning kind of stuff. And one of them is, some people are much more visual or sound auditory than reading. So for each one of David's modules, at some point in time in the future, I'm going to start creating just a small little video for each one, just to help those who have that better learning style, just to help you along. It is not to supplant or do anything from what David's done. That is the core aspect of our entire training effort. Gentlemen, that kind of wraps up the official agenda. Before we get into Q&A, is there anything based on any one of us that have said that you want to make more clear, adjust, or just say, ooh, I thought of something? Then we've done a good job so far. All right. To help control the fact that we have just under 50 members here, we're going to ask for each one of you who want to ask a question. You can put it in as a chat because you don't want to have your voice heard, and that's fine. Put your question in the chat. If you do want to ask something, if you know how to do it, you go down to in the lower kind of right-hand side of your screen, there's a thing called reactions. Click on that, and then there's a raise hand. Just raise your hand, and then we will unmute you.
Rory, we have a question from the chat. Well, the first one is from Pat, AJ6MJ. Says, can we have the target stations add a common tactical call sign, such as EDM TGT? That way, I wouldn't have to generate so many messages that never get sent.
I can take that.
Go ahead, David.
I just recently did some testing with tactical call signs with P2P operations, and that is unfortunately not feasible. If you generate a message and address it to a tactical address, you still connect to the station's call sign, the target station's call sign. And when you connect, it will pass that tactical address, that tactical message, or that message to the correct tactical address only if the target station has that tactical address enabled in WinLink. So we would have to have 30 people all with a tactical call sign enabled. It would just, I think, turn into a real mess.
I think it would be pretty easy. Just, it's a common instruction. Everybody does the same thing.
Hold on. It's not, my apologies, but it's not an open forum. If you want to speak, please raise your hand to make sure that we are going to make sure that there's not going to be doubling up or anything. Who is making that comment?
Well, let me raise my hand. This is
All right, Pat, go ahead.
my question, so that's why I thought it was open.
Well, I want to make sure that we finish this one up. Are you saying that you think it's supposed to work by using tactical in a P2P mode?
Okay, we do it out here. I'm with Ventura County Areas ACS, and we do that, and it works fine. And I address it to a tactical call sign that happens to be being monitored by the guy who runs the gateway station that's set to P2P mode. And that's just one of the exercises we do. The reason is that if everybody did the same thing, then we wouldn't have to go through this deal of creating all these messages to each of the target stations we wanted to talk to. We can just create one, and if we connect to somebody, then it goes through, and if we don't, we try the next guy.
All right, I understand, Pat, I understand that, but there are 2 points, and they're very major. One, you started off with they are monitoring. You have to have the station logged in, operating as that tactical call sign. So that means we have to completely change the script of how we are organized. Second, it's the purpose of what EDM is about. I was going to make this as a summary point. The purpose of EDM is for each individual to learn how to do this, to bring it back to their local organization. We are not a deploying organization. We do not get involved in supporting any effort. While it sounds like a good idea, and if it's working in Ventura County, that's great. I'll talk to Chris Mattia and get a little more information directly. But it's not the design of the EDM for its ultimate purpose, and it's not even part of a regular operation. We are so widespread, it also wouldn't really be effective where you're doing it very locally. It's all coordinated. We don't have that facility to be able to do it because of the way EDM is structured. Lynn, do you have anything that you might want to add to that?
I was just going to add, look at the map behind me. You're going to have 40 target stations. Are they all going to have the same tactical call sign?
Yes. That way, you just hit one after the other. You've got your point-to-point message address the tactical call, and the first guy that you get in touch with, it goes through.
Yes,
which-
and then what happens when that person makes
wait.
contact? They're still on the air. And that means if they're on that same oh, you're talking about, you want us to run up and down using one tactical call sign across the entire team network?
I would like,
Yeah.
as a field station, to be able to generate one message, and the first target station I get it to, I have succeeded. I can then keep a copy and then rename it again and try another target station.
Okay, the reason why, Dave, I see your hand raised. The reason why that's a problem in the EDM scenario is the purpose of EDM is how to find each other when the all else fails scenario happens. Internet, phones, everything goes kaplooey. There is no tactical call sign. You have to know who's there individually to start finding out what are the resources. That is the primary purpose behind EDM as the initial response. By doing what you're doing, it's a good idea. That's not negating the idea, but not within what is the purpose of EDM. And it's the initial, starting off on VAR AC to find each other. And then from there, it's not going to be a cohesive way of doing it for what the whole purpose of what EDM is and what we're training for. Because the whole idea is hopefully is you find each other and then things get going. You can start a regular kind of a net. And then you're doing more direct communication, but you know who's actually available. That's also part of the thought. David?
Yeah,
One
just
other thing
to
here I'd
wrap-
like to add first, Rory. Pat, let's say I want to get a message to you in Southern California, and I got 40 stations around the country with the same call sign, and the guy that picks it up is in New York. That message now is gone from my outbox. You're never going to see it.
I thought we were trying to wasn't the goal to get everything back to EDM as the primary target address? You got to get it somewhere on the internet and get it forwarded.
No, that's the whole thing that you're missing the point. When we do peer-to-peer, we're not using the internet at all. We're not using the WinLink network. We're not using any of the infrastructure. That's out, that's gone. No repeaters, no internet, nothing. We're just using the WinLink format for messages, and we're directing them to a particular target station in a particular location. And you can't do that without having that station's unique call sign.
Yeah,
I
guess maybe I'm a little confused. My thought was that the goal was to get out. I want to get out of the donut hole. And
Actually-
the idea that the entire country has lost the internet. Really?
all right.
No, it doesn't matter.
We're
It
going to
doesn't-
lose.
It doesn't matter. It
lose
doesn't matter.
FEMA region.
All
I-
we need is a couple of RMS stations that are critical to have lost their internet or whatever. It's not like we expect the whole country to go down. All that is a possibility. It's a very definite possibility, but that's not something that we're necessarily targeting for. But we've looked at this tactical call sign situation, and now that WinLink will allow you to do that, we looked at it pretty hard, but we still want to direct things to a particular station in a particular location. So for us right now, that's not an issue, not a possibility.
David, I haven't forgotten about you, but I'm going to put out one thing. David, you're going to be the final word on this. For Pat and for everybody else, Pat, thank you for muting your mic. For Pat and for everybody else, if this is kind of like, well, I'm not quite understanding, send me an email or go to Groups.io and say, Rory, please do this. I'll give you the link for the 2 or 3 videos that we've done that's explaining this part of what we're doing, and with the other documents. It needs to be very clear what EDM is about and why we're doing things very specifically. That has already been reinforced in just what David's put out in just in 3 modules. They're great questions. It's a great topic, but when you go ahead and take a look at the foundational training videos that we have, and then that will be furthered out with what David's doing, you'll understand why the tactical is not going to be a useful part. But it's a great point that you were bringing up. David, anything else to add?
Yeah, just to summarize, I think, Pat, if in our scenarios, in our exercises, we're looking for field stations to pass that message on to as many stations as they can, not just to one station. So you would still have to generate another message each time you did that. And the other point is that it's not hard at all to generate 30 or 40 messages all at the same time. All you do is copy and paste the whole list of call signs into the box and hit the button, and WinLink instantly generates all of them. So it's really not a hard thing to do. Okay,
I just
Rory.
hate seeing all of them in my outbox saying, they didn't get sent. There's a problem. Don't hit leave.
That I can understand. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Do we have another raised hand, and we'll go to the next question in the chat? I don't see a raised hand. So, okay, well, I'll start off with what I'm seeing here from Jeff, KK7ABS. Regarding operating as a target station, are there additional hardware capabilities required over and above that required for a field station? No. All it comes down to is if it's an emergency, you have the power and amplifier maybe to get your signal out a little bit further. Other than that, no. If you're operating VAR-AC, you're operating WinLink, that's it. It's just how much power that you think is needed. You're just going by the FCC as much as what is required to make a connection. Lloyd. Okay, thank you, Lloyd. You gave a compliment. The 3 modules so far have been helpful. David New, I'd like to see less no-shows. Yes, and that was addressed as part of the accountability issue that we have addressed to start doing something about that. Remember, it's a volunteer organization. We don't want to just start throwing people out because, look, you haven't been here for 3 times. Goodbye. We want to be a lot more mature about the whole process, but it has to have some metrics as part of it, just like we would expect you in your local organization. David, I saw your thumbs flopping around there. How serious should we be? This is from Chris and 8 Alpha India. How serious should we be about using a station on battery power, recharged only from solar? If you're going to be a real MCOM station, and steering committee members can jump in as they want to as well, yes, any way that you can generate power and as much as you can do battery or solar, but of course, keep in mind, well, the batteries today are so good, especially have the enough funds for it, bio-NO or bio-NO batteries, lithium phosphate. I mean, so those things are fantastic. But always, no matter what it is, always have an alternative source just in case that fails. Don't ever rely upon one thing. Somebody else, go ahead.
No, John, Roy, John, Kilo Charlie 5, Quebec Oscar Charlie has his hand up.
You ask us to submit a response after we've done the training. Is there any way for us to know that you got it?
If you send it and you see that message in Groups IO that it's in there, we have it. Guaranteed.
I didn't see. You see the message in Groups IO?
It doesn't go to Groups IO, Rory. It goes to the answers.
Yeah, I know. John, if you send it to EDM_answers, it goes in there. If you see that the message was sent successfully, assume you have it.
How do you see it?
It doesn't bounce back.
No, when I say just the fact you haven't gotten anything back in your email system to say message it was not delivered. If you don't have a message, this is one of those negative becomes a positive. If you do not see a message saying it was not delivered, it was, and we have it. But if you're asking the question, I will call up the list. Len, could you explain how the EDM answers work for them while
Sure. John, the EDM answers is kind of a one-way street. You can send messages there and that's it. We get the messages, we have your response. If the message is not sent successfully, it'll bounce back to you. So as long as you send it,
okay,
we get it. So
John, you're lost your place on the screen, so I don't know where you are. Do me a favor, give me your call sign.
Kilo Charlie 5, Quebec Oscar Charlie.
Okay, I got you all 3 modules.
Okay.
So
cool.
Therefore, you can just assume it. Yeah, it is working. So just assume that if you don't get told that the message didn't get sent, it got sent and we have it.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn, for the explanation.
Another one from Pat, Rory.
Yep. When did the VAR AC exercise? Well, when we did the VAR AC exercise, there was some confusion about what frequency to use for WinLink. How did that get resolved? Hey, David, since you're going to be doing that as part of your training, and so it's not just my voice, do you have a thought how to answer that?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I understand the question. The question pertains to VARAC, and there was some confusion on one of the exercises. I think you're saying that people didn't know what frequency to use for the VARAC portion versus the target station portion. So just keep in mind, and we'll try to make it as clear as we can in the exercises. We honestly thought we had on that one, but obviously if anybody misread it, maybe we didn't have it as clear as it needed to be. We're not using VARAC frequencies. Keep that in mind. When we use VARAC, we are using one of our EDM channel frequencies for that operation. And when you're doing the VARAC portion, you do the one that it says to do in the exercise. There's one for each of the bands. Then when you go to the P2P portion, where you're actually using WinLink Express and peer-to-peer to send and receive messages via the target station, then the target station is always going to be on that target station's published frequency.
Excellent, thank you. And Pat, I'm going to say it differently just to make sure that your question gets answered. David just put out the module that a lot of people went, wow, I didn't know that. The fact that WinLink uses center frequency. VARAC, which has 4 ways to say it, VARAC, VAR-AC, VAR-AC, they put an A there that isn't existing. But for VAR-AC, it goes by the dial frequency. It's still the same frequency on the radio. But WinLink has you do it by the dial frequency, which you would put up on top. VAR-AC goes by the dial frequency that you can put in directly into it. And we've done it as part of a prior training exercise. And I'm sure it's going to be part of a future module where you can create a saved list of, let's say, your target station team and have all of it saved in an INI file for VAR-AC. So you can just click on it. So it's the same frequency. It's the way that the WinLink VAR TNC goes after it versus VAR-AC through the VAR-HF TNC, how they go after it. But it's the same frequency. It's just which way do you go after it? Because of the way data mode works, it's really all the same. It's just how they're identifying it.
Rory, can I say something?
Go. Please.
I just want to say a couple of things because I'm getting kind of a bit of a common theme from some of the questions. And also, there's probably an amount of you that are brand new. And without being technical, believe me, I'm the least technical person there is. But so bear with me. But the whole concept in simple form of what we're trying to accomplish here, and I'll just give an example. So, you know, you wake up and you hear on the news that parts of California are without infrastructure, they're without power, they're without everything. So you might say to yourself, okay, I'm going to go monitor VARAC. And you're going to see if anybody in California is sending out a beacon, anybody that is wanting to have somebody help them pass messages. Well, I mean, they can't do it on the internet. They can't do it on cell phone. So VARAC is the mechanism to see who's out there listening at a particular time. Okay, I see the guy on VARAC. We make contact. We decide on going peer-to-peer, whatever the frequency is. Now he may want me to pass a message, and I pass the message on to whoever. That's basically the concept. So we're not too worried about if it was mentioned earlier. Well, you know, I'm trying to make contact with somebody and I can't make contact with them. Well, you got to remember, guys. I mean, there's propagation. In one way, yes, in a perfect world, you hope they're going to be there. And they say they're participating. But then on the other hand, what if it's propagation? What if it's their antenna? So don't get hung up on that if they're not there, then you go to the next one. Anyways, hope I didn't make that confusing, Rory. I just had to kind of get that off my
Different
chest.
ways of thinking. No, that's cool. All right, Art, your hand is raised. Go for it. Unmute your mic.
Okay, hopefully this is going to make sense for you. In doing the peer-to-peer on WinLink, I take and I put into my favorites the stations that are active for that exercise. Instead of taking and ending up with 40, 60 different stations in there with their assigned frequency, is there a way to break down that into a list in the WinLink, or is that just a pipe dream?
Rory, I can answer that.
Go for it.
I've been doing this for years. Art, here's what I do. And I'm going to have to change it all because we've changed so many frequencies. I have all of our frequencies programmed in with a channel designation, not call signs, just a channel and a frequency programmed into the memory in WinLink in the Vera mode, okay, peer-to-peer. And then what I will do during any given exercise, I'll have all the messages already in the outbox generated the way David specified, where you put in all the call signs and it makes all the messages for you. And I'll just put the call signs in along with the specific channel. I'll call up the channel and I'll just, instead of having like channel 1810.135 for the call sign, I will put in the call sign of the station that I'm calling. And that's it. I'm done.
That makes perfect sense, and that makes it a whole lot easier than the way I was looking to go. Thank you.
You bet.
David, just as a point of note, if you don't have that as part of your plans, if you could make a note to say, hey, let's put Lynn's idea out there as a training module.
Got it on the list.
Excellent. Thank you. No hands raised. So next question.
We do have one. We have a hand.
Yeah, I've got that. I'm going through them. So I'm going to start off with Rob, Victor Echo 3 Golf Romeo. Is there a call out procedure being developed in case of a large outage? Also, is there a calling channel in case we can use VARIC in such a case? I know that you're a very new member. So yes, it's part of our whole design. So for you, for everybody else, if you want to make a note of this, if you go to YouTube, you go to MCOM Direct Training Group, and you look at the various YouTube training modules there, look for one that was put out about March of 2023, somewhere in that time frame, and there are 3 in a row, and it starts off with what we're about, and look for the keyword vision inside of that YouTube channel, and just start off with that one, and it'll get you an idea of what the purpose and the design of what we're doing, and it takes it at a step-by-step process. And then there are a bunch of others in there as well. So if you feel that you're not quite getting what we're doing, that's a way to start for right now. And then as David unfolds with the modules, you'll get all the solid concrete information going forward. So we do have a call out procedure. You go.
No, sorry. I thought you were finished because someone's got their hand up. Go ahead, they'll finish.
Yeah, I'm done on that one. That was just for general for everybody, because that's now the second chat. So therefore, there's always more. Starting off those vision, and then the other training modules will help you get up to speed decently and get an idea of how we're structured and how we're doing our exercises. But more importantly, it's already been mentioned once, it's ultimately for what you're doing in your local area. It's not for EDM's purposes, but it's really designed for you.
I see. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Bob, your hand is masked. It's not orange. I didn't see it. My apology. So go ahead.
Yeah. So for people who, once the new map is published, people can download that map in a KML format and then upload that to a website whose link I forget, and have that be converted into a spreadsheet. So you'll get a spreadsheet of every target station along with whatever teams they're on and whatever frequencies they're on, and you can use that to build your own P2P favorite list for each of the 4 teams. And then for whatever on-air exercise we have, you import the appropriate P2P favorite in to your WinLink Express. Go ahead, compose one message, have everyone on that target team as your target, send it to everybody, and then you can make the connection to that first target team, and then you're done. It's a very simple procedure, and I will send out a message after this when I find that website that will convert the KML file that you download from the map into the CSV file from Excel. That's all I have.
So,
Thank you. And for
let me-
those who are going, but I didn't get that. I was going to say this at the end. We will be posting this win link as I put into the calendar notification, and we will be putting in some of the supplementary information as part of that. So don't worry
Rory,
about saying, I didn't write my note fast enough.
Rory, give me a second here.
Yeah.
Bob, the spreadsheet is already there. It's already with the map.
Well, I was never able to find the spreadsheet, so I found this way to download the KML and then
Oh,
upload
no,
it. But
if you
I'll
look at
look. I'll
look
look
at the-
harder and I'll find it.
Look at the map, just scroll down. The whole spreadsheet is right there.
Okay, but for some reason I was unable to download that spreadsheet. So that's what I did. And I'm just suggesting this as a procedure for other people to get a list of the 4 teams. Use the map. It's a great resource is what I'm trying to say. And incorporate that map into WinLink Express is not that hard.
Yeah.
If-
And the spreadsheet that we have there with it, Bob, is actually a composite of the target station lists that Brad will be posting on the group's IO. So it's there as well.
Right. And once it's in Excel, you can filter it by team. It makes your life so simple.
Right. It's all, yep. It's all organized by team.
So if anybody has trouble downloading the spreadsheet, other than Rob, sorry to hear that, let us know and we'll see if we can track down any kind of a common problem.
In the lower left corner of the map, there's a little gear wheel. And if you click on that, you can set it to sort by whatever media you want. You can reverse sort. I keep mine sorted by target station teams. You can sort by FEMA regions. You can sort by frequencies. You can sort by first name, last name, call sign, anything you want. It's all right there for you.
Okay.
So you can just copy and paste it into whatever you want.
Thank you. There are a number of comments about the spreadsheet for tracking answers. I'll address that at the end because my mind's still going on about that. Going on to the next thing in chat from Rob, Victor Echo 3, Romeo X-Ray Hotel. Should we let you know if we're operating away from our home location? He is a snowbird, so therefore he doesn't like his country during winter, so he comes and goes someplace else. Lynn, what are your thoughts if somebody is not running at home and nowhere close to home? Does that matter for how we would be running our exercises, given we like FEMA regions, or in this case, Canadian location?
Well, we could probably take some advantage of that, Rory, if we need coverage someplace else in the country. It depends on where he's going, I guess. You know, if we have an empty target station slot someplace that works for him, sure.
Yes,
For that exercise, we could fill it in. Absolutely.
Okay. So there you go, Rob. Make sure you let us know ahead of time once you get wind. No pun intended, being your snowbird, getting wind of an exercise coming to say, hey, during that time, I'm going to be, just give us general location close to a major city and the state, and we'll make adjustments as needed. But thank you for letting us know about that.
I'm not sure if you can put a complex call sign into WinLink to send it to.
No, it's not a complex call sign, just his location for our exercise to make note of it.
But if he's Canadian and he's operating in the United States, he'd have to have a complex call sign, wouldn't he?
Yeah, like Whiskey 0/VE3MXJ.
Yeah, for his FCC requirements, but it wouldn't matter for the WinLink VARAC requirement.
Okay.
Cora, let's see, that one was answered. Regards to Goyan's question about email responses. Okay, that's about the spreadsheets. That's it for what we have in the chat. So I'll address the spreadsheet issue. I'm going to be hesitant about saying yes, I'll make that spreadsheet available to all because the purpose is to track everyone. And it's something we're going to have to take back to the steering committee. Do we want to make all that tracking information available to everyone else? It's more it's not officially PII, private information, but it's just for an accountability issue. And I don't know if I want to make that one available so you know yourselves how other team members are doing. I don't think in general that would be a right thing to do. You can certainly be doing your own and keeping just your own little spreadsheet yourself. And then if we come back to you to say, hey, I say that I finished those, we can easily go back and trace back through the responses in case we missed one that came in. But I'm hesitant at this time, and we'll make it a steering committee topic. I don't know if I want to make it available because that's a bunch of information that really has no bearing on being an EDM team member in workability with the rest of them. But just know that we are doing it, and yes, we are very cognizant of the people being involved and or not involved and wasting people's time. We've addressed it in 2 separate emails that messages we put out, and we're very, very serious about trying to make that not a problem.
Rory, one thing that that I've been thinking of, and maybe it's something that we need to discuss, is that the spreadsheet that accompanies the map, the target station map, we could add another column to that, and we could track the number of messages that each target station has received on an accumulating basis by exercise or just in total. And the reason for that would be not to make us into some kind of a competition, but to provide a likelihood factor that you're going to be able to communicate with that target station and something that indicates their level of activity. So that might be something that we should look at in the future if the group thinks that that's worthwhile.
So with that, I'm going to go then into the ending part. What number of different topics to summarize, because it's now 1 minute after the hour. Thank you all for staying, by the way. Pretty much every one of you have stayed. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate and honoring your time. We want to honor you back by wrapping this up. One, please, for any comments that you didn't have as a question, but just thoughts that you want us to have, please send us a message in the Target Station team. I'm going to be sending out a message to the entire Target Station team to say, please put in your Zoom meeting comments. That will be useful for those of you who are here. And then for those who are not able to make it, that they can, when they watch it, they can also put the responses in. So that'll give everybody a number of days to put everything in. You do not have to do it within any short period of time. You think about something 2 weeks later, we will know that another message has come, another addition to that message has been added, and we'll be looking at that as well. Again, that's all part of the feedback that we want, and this will be another feedback mechanism for you. So whatever ideas that you have regarding the tracking, what you think might work, but for the actual tracking modules done, right off the bat, you should be doing it yourself anyway, just so you know, because we've got at least 24 planned, I think David said, and more ideas can come. David may get up to a whole 30 by the time he gets all completed at the end, just so you know. And
If
then
I don't quit first,
I'm sorry?
if I don't quit first,
No, you can't quit. When you signed on, quit was not an option. This is EDM 13. No, Apollo 13 is EDM 13. No, quitting is not an option. For what we pay you, no, not an option. You can't leave to get something better. Again, you're all volunteers, and we recognize that. So first, foremost, you're volunteering, and we recognize you're putting in your personal time to this organization, in addition to all the others that you're doing, because the ultimate purpose is for whatever your served agencies are, whatever ideas. As part of thoughts that you may have, and we've said it before, and hopefully we'll continue to say it, if you have something that you're kind of wondering about what would be good for your group, you're seeing a series of steering committee members here that have varied locations and experiences in MCOM, organizational theory, a number of different skills that we will be able to help you come up with a solution for whatever your situation may be, even if we don't have one direct. But we've got people from Aries, serious leadership roles, Auxcom involvement, for those of you who know what that is. So we've been trained in the public sector side of thinking of things. So if you need some, how do they think? We got some people that can help you with that as well. We are a multiple resource tool for you. It's not just these exercises, but it's just general information about MCOM that you think might help in developing your P2P plans. And expressed before in the vision videos, in your emergency operation plans. Have your P2P, when all fails type of stuff, something separate, an addendum, because it's short-term, hardly used, but you want it written down with what to be doing, where to go, frequencies laid out, time of day. We've done a propagation test exercise to help with that one. But we will be putting out one singular message. Add to that one any thoughts, comments, or whatever, or even a question that you are now thinking about while you're typing then that you didn't think of now. Not everybody thinks like right there on their feet. But we thank you all for doing this, because our ultimate purpose is to make your MCOM experience better regardless. When you do that, keep in mind, it's the principles and then the practices from those principles, but then how it applies to you. In my vision video, I come from a very urban environment and directly inside New York City after 9/11. So I have that line. For me personally, I'm now in super rural. I've got 5 counties around me. They have no MCOM anything going whatsoever. So I'm trying to build up a whole new thing. The thinking down here is completely different. I use as an example, where you are will be different than possibly what every steering committee member has. But principles and some practices then is something that we can be helping you with, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. We'll be sending out a link for this recording and any additional material that we think that would be useful, but based on what we've talked about. If anybody has anything they think is very valuable, do so. I'll refer you back to the messages that Lynn put out about the mapping and how to use it, because that may be answering some of your questions that you have about how to find each other and things like that. That map makes it very graphic, not just spreadsheet metric form, and then you've got to somehow translate distances and directions from that. Last thing is, and we haven't mentioned it officially before, but if anybody has in one of the corners of the continent of the 48 states of the United States, and you have a beam, we would like to know about that, because that gives some availability that makes your station a little more unique in helping things work in an exercise. We may be asking for some other information. I forget. I know we talked about it, so I don't know how we're going forward, but that's one of the things that we've brought up, is those in the corners of the country, Washington, Florida, Georgia, well, only the southern part of California. The northern part doesn't count for this. But in the corners especially, because if you point your beam at a 45-degree angle into the continent, you get a whole swath of stations in one fell swoop. As Lynn mentioned, you know, anybody in those Rocky Mountain states, Alaska, please, just so we have it on our map, even if they don't like it, just so we have it on a map. We'd like to see it. It's not a competition, which is great, because you guys have been noticing that. You're not trying to rack up numbers. You're trying to rack up effectiveness. And we're very much appreciate that, because that is really what this is about. Just making you effective and learning how to be effective in the exercises. I have nothing else that I made a note of to bring forward. Gentlemen, do you have any other final thoughts?
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, then to all, thank you very much. Pretty much every one of you stayed. I appreciate that. Stu, you can give me a call anytime you like, and we'll follow up with that discussion. Gentlemen, have enjoyed your module number 4. You will be seeing that in a few days. Take care. Stay warm for those of you who are in the blue states, and blue based on how the map shows things, not political.
Awesome, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.